for most venture-backed companies, and certainly the ones that we work with at Fenwick, IP is your biggest asset. And there's really just no quicker way to kind of scuttle a deal or delay a deal or kind of mess up a company than to have murky IP.
Welcome back. For those of you joining us for the first time, this is the TxO Startup Hotline, where we answer all your questions about turning your idea into a business. Now, when I heard today's question, I knew I needed to bring in some backup. So for today's episode, we're joined by Allison Cooper, startup and venture partner at Fenwick. How's it going, Allison?
It's great. I'm thrilled to be here.
Welcome to the hotline.
Thank you.
Let's roll to the question.
Hey TxO, I would really appreciate your advice on this matter that has been bothering me. So a friend of mine and I have been talking about this business idea that I want to pursue full time, but they don't. So down the road, will I be at risk if this friend tries to take credit or ownership of my company, since we both talked about it? And what's the best way to keep my idea from being copied or stolen? I'd really appreciate some advice on this front so that my mind could be at peace.
Okay, so before we jump in, I do have to say this because I am a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. So if you do have a specific question, please contact your own counsel. But, jumping in here, I'm really glad to hear this question. I think it's actually pretty common, but it's also super important to resolve. And I think, why is it so important, right? So for most venture-backed companies, and certainly the ones that we work with at Fenwick, IP is your biggest asset. And there's really just no quicker way to kind of scuttle a deal or delay a deal or kind of mess up a company than to have murky IP.
So is IP just for technology companies or all companies?
So it's definitely the case for technology-enabled companies, but it's also the case for other ones that we wouldn't traditionally think of as, technology companies. IP comes in many shapes and sizes, and it's not just the traditional stuff like copyright and patents. It's also kind of the stuff that you don't really think of, the little notes you write on a napkin in a cafe, the emails and text messages you exchange with a co-founder, maybe your business plan on your computer.
So what should founders do?
I think the most important thing is kind of resolve any issues in writing, and do that early on. Don't wait to do that. If a buddy tells you, look, they don't want to be involved going forward, get that in an email or a text message and save that. Make sure you have that in your records. Additionally, you need to make sure that the company really owns any IP that's created early on. And this can be done with something as simple as an IP assignment for a small amount of consideration. A one-page agreement for $10 really can save you a lot of heartache going forward. And I think the other thing to really think about here is that sometimes someone's role can be a little bit murky, right? It can be a little bit undefined, and it can change over time. But you really want to make sure that you capture all IP going forward. So make sure that they're engaged with the company on the proper agreement. If they're an advisor, they want to do an advisory agreement, maybe a consulting agreement, or an employee who's going to, be engaged through an offer letter and an IP assignment.
Wow, that was really helpful. That's why we brought you in. So as a founder, if I don't have connections to lawyers, what should be my first step?
I find that the best referrals come from your founder friends. So talk to your founder friends, ask them who they work with. If you don't have other founders in your network or don't know where to turn, contact us here at Fenwick and, we can try to help. Or if we can't, we can point you in the right direction.
Super, super solid advice. Thanks, Allison. And hopefully this helps you out with the situation with your buddy. If you have any other questions, hit us up at 844-DIAL-TXO.